Okay, let's start this video. So this one is just a quick video looking at how to calculate how many days there are between given dates. So the calculation's not too bad, except in the textbook, I'll just hold it a bit closer, we have a table which lists months going this way, the date going that way, and it just counts the days. January the 1st is day 1, January the 2nd is day 2, keeps counting up to December 31st, which is day 365. I think if you're on the internet and you go to Wikipedia, or even if you just Google a date, it will tell you what number day that is in the year. So essentially what we're doing is we're looking up which day in the year this is. Just draw a little diagram. So just say our interval, this is 1 year, and we divide it up into 365 little days. So this question would be asking how many days between April 15th and August 2nd. So what we're going to do is look up on the table to find out which number day April 15th is. Let's say that's April 15th. And we're going to look up which day August 2nd is from the start of the year. Obviously that goes a bit further. And then we're going to take this number away from this number so that we're left with how many days there are in this little interval here. Okay, so I'm going to do this first example, how many days between April 15th and August 2nd. I'm just going to look up on the table. Here's my April column. April 15th is the 105th day of the year. Day 105. And August 2nd, the August column, the second is day 214. So now we're just going to take the small one from the big one, and it will tell us how many days there are in between. So do that without a calculator. 105, 1, 0. And that gives us 109 days between April 15th and August 2nd. That was pretty straightforward, although you sort of need the table. On graphing calculators, fancy calculators we might have a play with in class, there are ways to work this out, but we'll just use the table for now. Okay, so the second example, between June 19th and November the 1st, I'm going to come across to June, down to 19th. It is the 170th day of the year. And November 1st is the 305th day. So to work out how many days in between, again I'm going to take this one from that one. 70. $135 days between. That's essentially it. Now, probably worth mentioning So these examples did actually give years, but it didn't really matter. 14, 20, 15. So the reason the year is important is because every 4 years, and that is years where the last 2 digits are divisible by 4, so neither in this case, we have an extra day added in February after the 28th. So that's a leap year, and that's to account for the fact that a day isn't a year, as the Earth's going around the sun, isn't exactly 365 days. It's closer to 365 and a quarter days. So every 4 years we gain an extra day, and by putting in the leap year once every 4 years, it makes our calendar balance out so that we don't get out of sync with the seasons and the way the Earth rotates around the world. So in that case, if the year is a multiple of 4, so the last 2 digits, that means there's a leap year. So for any date after the 28th of February, when you look up on the table, you need to add 1 to each of those amounts, because there is an extra day thrown in. Dates for 28th of February and before in a leap year don't adjust the table. And the other thing to mention is, if there is no year given in the question, just assume it's not a leap year. Okay, so I've got one more example, and it's going to relate back to simple interest. Okay, so let's get rid of this. I suppose we can get rid of that. So this question says, how much interest is earned? So we want to find interest. We're going to be using our simple interest. Let's just put that there. When $1,200 is invested between January 14th and March 2nd at 6.5% per annum. Okay, so we know the principal. We can convert this rate to a decimal, but we need to work out the time. And remember, the time in our simple interest formula is in years, so we're going to have to work out how many days and then make a fraction out of 365 to represent it as a proportion of a year. So first of all, let's just write that's P R, and we need to find out the time in between these dates. So January 14th, I'm not even going to use the table, is the 14th day of the year. March 2nd, I will look this up on the table. March 2nd is the 61st day of the year. So 61 away 14. So we've got 47 days. So now we know that the principal, the rate, we've got the number of days, but we need to convert that to time, which equals 47 out of 365 days. So now this is a fraction of a year. And this equals, this is our t. So now we can do our simple interest calculation and work out what the interest is. A little space here, interest. So our principal, 1,200. Our rate is 6.5, but we need it as a decimal, so that'll be 0.065. And then our time, I'm just going to keep it like this, 47 out of 365. So on the calculator, this times the top. And at that point I'd press equals and then divide the whole answer by the 365. So I'm going to get 1200, 365, 47. And divided by 365, and we get $10.04. So between those dates, it was a period of 47 days. We earned this much interest on this much invested. But the important thing is to understand that we are making this many days into a proportion of a year by making a fraction. Okay, so that's where this one's going to end. I told you it would be short.